Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm with Mr. Joseph Patterson. He's in London, and why not? The best place to be, where the Jamaican Constitution was drafted, and yes, a stone throw away from even right here. Jamaica is on the quest to become a republic, to cut the ties with the UK, cut the ties with King Charles. Now, the UIC, which Mr. Patterson is a founder of, the United Independence Congress, Mr. Patterson, who is a chartered professional accountant, social entrepreneur, and good governance advocate, after his return to Jamaica from Canada, where he lived and rose to Director of Finance in government, and it became Jamaica's third officially registered political party on December 2nd, 2019. Now, I'm going to have a conversation with Mr. Patterson today, because this is very crucial. Mr. Patterson, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. We have had our different interviews so far, online, virtual. COVID blocked us off, so we have to be doing all things virtual. But it is good that you're here in London. My first question to you, why did you leave Jamaica?
Well, I have only left Jamaica to come and spend some time with the diaspora here.
Yes.
But I'm shortly returning.
You're shortly returning.
And I have no plans to ever leave Jamaica on a permanent basis ever again. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it's glad that you said that. And I'd like to ask you, first of all, and for those who may not have watched even the initial shows that we had before, those who do not know about you, because this is the first time I'm sitting down with you, tell us about yourself and UIC to Jamaicans in the diaspora.
Sure. Well, as you know, the UIC was formed on December 2nd, 2019. Prior to that, I had lived in Canada for a number of years. I left Jamaica when I was around 23 years old.
Yes.
And I returned at 40 years old, 2011 to be exact. The next 2 years of my sojourn in Jamaica was one where I spent the time evaluating where Jamaica has come from and where it has reached at that time. And it was clear to me that we could not depend on or trust the two existing traditional parties to bring about the kind of governance, good governance that Jamaica needed. And so I spent the next 10 years working on building the UIC. From its principles, its founding principles, its constitution, its policies, its manifesto, and trying to bring together Jamaicans from desperate groups to say, let us work together to build this new political party.
And is that why you call it independence?
Exactly. So if you notice, the name says United Independence Congress. So we want to unite all the independent thinkers. We want them to be a Congress, so this is not a dictatorial system. And we want to make sure that we have all Jamaicans who are interested in nation building and good governance to come to the table and help us build this new movement.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you're talking about the third political party, but there have been different political parties who are third. You got the NDM before, and I think there was another one. What made you think that now is the time for a third political party to raise its head in Jamaica, to be an alternative?
Well, the time has always been opportune, because you might recall the two major parties we have, they were really the product of three groups. The plantocracy of the day, that is the rich elites that own the land and properties and the capital of the country, those who benefited from slavery and now owned the assets of the country. So that group, the plantocracy, they, together with the media, which they controlled, actually created two controlled oppositions, two parties, to push out Marcus Garvey and to eliminate the Marcus Garvey party, which was the first true.
As you and I.
Yeah, that was called the PPP.
PPP, yes.
So when that party, and he of course did the UNIA. Now, so Marcus Garvey was the first Jamaican to organize a political party, and it was a grassroots party, meaning it's owned by the people. The two parties that came after, and which was used by the plantocracy to displace him and get rid of his party, those two now are not really grassroots party. They are owned and controlled by the plantocracy, which today we call the PSOJ, which funds them. And you might know this, they are funded almost equally. The only time there's a change in funding is if one or the other strays too far from the PSOJ oligarch's position. So in effect, when Jamaicans go to the poll, whether they vote for one or the other, they're really voting for the PSOJ oligarchs.
Right. Interesting. And also Marcus Garvey won a seat while he was in prison as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes.
Straight from the grassroots.
They tried to lock him up to prevent him, and the people still elected him.
Yeah.
Just like in 2021, when I led the demonstration, they locked me up as well.
It's interesting you talk about Marcus Garvey, and a lot of people are interested in Marcus Garvey. It seems that Marcus Garvey's name keep coming up a lot, his teachings keep coming up a lot, but somehow his principles are not being adhered to from the top.
Yes, because the whole aim of the current colonial construct in Jamaica is to prevent the people from ever being truly free. It is to ensure that a small minority controls the assets of Jamaica, controls the capital of Jamaica, controls the economy of Jamaica, so that the majority remains on the margins, and a small 1 to 10% controls 90% of the assets.
That's very interesting, and I'm going to, when we touch on to even the Republic and the Constitution, that is going to be coming back again. But let's talk about your 10-point plan.
Sure.
Let's talk about the UIC and the 10-point plan, so people can get involved with the UIC.
Yeah, sure. Well, first thing, I want to, the UIC, first and foremost, is what I like to call a rights-based party. Our focus is first on the rights of the Jamaican people, wanting to protect three things: the right to your life, liberty, and property. Now, outside of that, now you have policies of the party and when we form government. So here are 10 policies that we want to implement. The first one strikes at the heart of the crime problem that we have. We want to create what is called a youth employment solution. And this program ensures that every child...
It's interesting I said yes. But my yes wasn't the fact that it's yes. It was yes.
Exactly. So it is still yes. So yes, Jamaica will ensure that every young person that graduates from high school, if they're not going on to a post-secondary program, will be given a full-time paid job, so that they can actually learn on the job and build the skills and ethics that they need to have to be productive. So we're going to starve the gangs by pulling them away from that possibility. The second policy of the 10-point plan is what we call having, instead of a police force, having a police service. And instead of having a defense force that doesn't really have a clear mandate, we're going to clarify the mandate and make sure that the defense force becomes a defense service that fully protects our borders. Now, SYLBOURNE, if we fully protect our borders, the guns will stop coming. Right? And if
you're saying right. I mean, if people have been trying to stop the guns from coming in for a long time.
Yes, but they've failed. And the reason they've failed is because those who we have asked to stop the guns from coming are two parties that have given guns to our young men and women. They have created garrisons. They have funded dons. They have allowed gangs to mushroom and take over the country. So we can't ask those who create the problem to fix it. So our second policy is repurpose the police and create a service. Police need to respect citizens. They don't respect the citizens. So they need to switch from being this aggressive force to becoming community polices that are fully embedded in the society and a part of the growth of the communities. And if you do that while having the army doing its job of fully protecting the borders and preventing the guns and ammo from coming in, you're beginning to see crime go down. Our third policy is to ensure that every child has four things: proper nutrition, proper education, proper health care, and decent housing. Now, you might say those sound so general, but if a child isn't fed properly, they can't learn properly. If we don't have an education product that does better than now, right now we fail 70% of our students every year. 70% fail. And the 30% who succeed, half of them migrate shortly thereafter. So you're building a high concentration of persons who are not competent and equipped to add to the productivity of the country. So we want to make sure we deal with the nutrition, the education. Healthcare is key, and for us that means from the prenatal stage. So tapping into the family early, the mother and father, the proper development of the fetus, so that when you have the child, mentally and stuff, it's ready. And finally, we have to have a housing program similar to Singapore, where they have been able to get to 93% home ownership rate. We're going to get to 98% by having a national housing program that provides every single Jamaican the opportunity to own a home that is decent, that is of a quality that is fit for a family of 3 or 4, and we're going to make sure that that happens in an economically responsible way.
You know, I want to stop you right there, because in 1962, when Jamaica became
independent, so-called.
I'm not going to say independent. Jamaica started the process of independence, because I'm on record, and people can search it, whereby I said you cannot be independent and yet you swear allegiance to a foreign power. But anyway, I say the process of independence. And in that process of independence, I strongly believe that in 1962, if people were really strategic and were genuine, land should have been apportioned to the people of Jamaica.
So you're speaking our language now?
Am I speaking your language?
Yes, because we are the only party in Jamaica that has made it very clear that upon election, we're going to do what is called local reparation. Because what you have, we have been asking for reparation from the foreigners, from the colonial masters. And
you're listening to me when you said your policies?
No. Okay, right. But it's good. And so the colonial masters, we've been saying, our politicians have been saying we should get reparation, while they had the power all this time to give the people back the land that was stolen from our ancestors.
It is very interesting what you said, and I've said this many times as well, ladies and gentlemen. We can chant down Babylon one more time and go down to Buckingham Palace, number 10 Downing Street. But I said, hang on a second, aren't we missing out on a trick here? Right here, right in Jamaica, we could start the process for a reparation, in a sense, just like what you said.
Absolutely.
There. Giving the people so they can have this base, this foundation, and go on this ladder of economic wealth.
Without property, there's no freedom.
Yes.
You remember now, the colonial masters, they stole 2 things from us. They stole our land and they stole our labor. And so when we got to independence, we literally were okay, let me go back a bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are 3 points in history we need to remember.
Yes.
In 1838, when they gave us so-called freedom, they say you're now free.
Yes.
They did not give us back our land, nor did they give us back the capital gained from our labor.
Yes.
So that freedom was a fake freedom. In 1944, 106 years later, they then gave us the right to vote. That was a fake democracy, because even though we had the so-called right to vote, they had a governor from England over us who could make sure that no policy in a form that will be contrary. And then in 1962 now, they crystallized that fakeness by giving us a fake independence with a foreigner as head of state. But more than that, throughout all this process, they never returned the land to the people, and they never returned or even compensated them partially for the capital that was stolen from them by their labor. The UIC is going to reverse all of that by first and foremost say to every Jamaican whose parents or ancestors were enslaved that you are entitled to a piece of this land. Entitled, free of charge. So now we're going to put you one step up on the ladder now. Those who don't have land are going to get it, and those who already have lands will be compensated for the fact that now land is going to be available.
Now we're going to touch into this more, and this just actually came out of the child having that home, and knowing that they actually have this legacy, that base there,
can pass on from generation to generation, and build on it.
Well, go through the quickly. If you can go quickly through the other, and then we'll need to go on to the Constitution.
So the next one we had, which actually touches on what we're talking about. Our plan is to divest all crown lands and government lands.
We still have crown lands in Jamaica.
Yes, we do, which is amazing. But either way, it is lands that have been co-opted and stolen. And listen, SYLBOURNE, people don't forget. It is 80 years now that these two parties could have returned the land to you, and they have not returned it to you. So when people vote for a UIC, they're voting for a party that is saying, we're going to return that land to you. So we're going to divest all crown lands, and we're going to do something. A, make all Jamaicans property owner, and B, we're going to get rid of ghettos, garrisons, and squatter communities by this one policy. We're going to have a standard whereby all of the country must look, smell, and feel like a tourist resort. Why do I say this? if you do not make the country look and smell and feel good, you won't lift the spirits of the people and bring out the best in them. The vision of the UIC is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people.
You know, when people travel to Jamaica and they go to all-inclusive resorts and they take a break, they come back all the while from holidays feeling fresh and rejuvenated. And what you're actually trying to say is that Jamaicans should feel that way.
Absolutely.
In a them yard.
In a them yard. In a freedom country.
Because lots of people come, take advantage of it, and they are excelling in their land.
Exactly. So just to piggyback on that, associated with the idea of making the entire country look, smell, and feel good, right?
Yes.
We want to make all of Jamaica a tourist product. Like all of it. So now we're going to have true community tourism. Yeah? And this means, SYLBOURNE, that instead of the all-inclusive resort getting all the business, now the average Jamaican will have full access to the tourist market. Why? Because we have made this community look good, feel good, and smell good. And we've empowered him now to provide services locally, sell the farmers food locally, right to the tourists, as opposed to the foreign company comes and own our tourist product and then buy at low price from the farmers and then sell it back, or importing as well and competing with our farmers. We're going to push that economy down to the grassroots so that we can lift up the Jamaican men and women who are at the bottom right now, struggling after 80 years of these two parties.
Lifting up Jamaica. And we move on.
The next item has to do with the matter of toll roads. Can you imagine paying taxes to build roads, to fix roads, to maintain roads, and then to leave your community and go somewhere in Jamaica, you must pay a toll again on the road? Our friends in Portmore, for example, can't leave them yard and go to Kingston quickly unless they pay toll to get there. But they already pay taxes. So we're going to do away with toll roads. We're going to, and by the way, the toll roads are only accessible to the rich and powerful in Jamaica because the average man can't afford it. If you drive on the toll, I drive on the toll road. When I was coming here, I got out of my house and I jumped on the toll road and I zip across and I was in Kingston. Quick. The road was empty. The bypass road now, pack. And full of patrol.
Is that the causeway? Remember the causeway bridge?
Right. So I'm talking about the bypass between Clarendon and Kingston. The toll road that runs that leg. And then you have another toll now that takes you from Portmore into Kingston. That's the one you're talking about. So the causeway was turned into that. You know, causeway where you and I used to drive when we were a boy. So that now is a toll road. So if you want to get to Kingston, you have to go the longer way around. To get to your work. So we're going to convert toll roads back to the Jamaican people. No more tolls.
Fantastic.
And we're going to ensure now that you have a proper public transportation system. One which is efficient, which you can set your watch by it. Old days, you know, we used to have good public transit in the 1970s, 80s, you know.
People are actually saying a lot that time back in Jamaica things were really good.
We've actually gone backwards. I tell you something which hurts my heart. If you look at Jamaica when the colonial masters left it, when they just left, you know, and they didn't leave fully, but they left on paper and they stopped running directly, right? Many of the institutions were being run better when they were in charge. So we had a bus service that was working. When they left, we had an airline that was profitable. We run our own airports. Today, our airports are owned by foreigners. Our airline has been sold off, and our public transit system is a complete wreck. What does that tell you? What the two major parties are trying to prove to the Jamaican people is that we cannot run anything ourselves.
You give the impression that the two major parties are singing from the same song.
Absolutely.
So there's no difference?
There's no difference. It's a different flavor of the same coffee. Yeah? So one is vanilla. Yeah, there you go. So when we tell people, you know, when we tell people that voting for one or the other, you're still voting for your enslavement, you're still voting for the PSOJ oligarchy.
I've always said this in the UK all the while when you come on to elections, and you vote out the government, you still get the government in. You vote out the government, you still get the government in.
The same kind of government.
So what you're actually trying to say, you vote out the JLP, you get the PNP. Vote out the PNP, you still get the JLP. Same difference. Is it the reason why you believe that you're also being suppressed?
Absolutely. Well, you know,
the UIC.
The UIC. What Jamaicans may not understand, and the diaspora is coming around to it, is that the same people who fund these two parties also control the media. Right? They own TVJ, they own CVM, they own the Gleaner, they own the Observer.
Is it that's why there's attack against the bloggers?
Absolutely.
Social media guys.
Yeah, and they also own the two parties by virtue of, like the last election.
Yes.
They gave them $300 million for just a few weeks of election. $300 million. Now, when you ask why third parties don't succeed in Jamaica, I'm going to come to that later, but that's one of the reasons.
Right.
A very big reason is that the funding comes from these two. Now, the UIC is bypassing that by being what Marcus Garvey did in the first place, creating a grassroots party funded by the people and owned by the people.
So therefore, no one can say that I got special interest, I gave you this, so therefore you've got to follow my policies and the things that I want.
So we're dangerous, SYLBOURNE, because when we're elected, we will be working for the people because the people own the party.
But really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I'm concerned, and my understanding is that the people really owns the country. Is that
well, they should, but they don't.
Okay.
The PSOJ oligarchs own the country.
Right. This is showing a different flavor now because it seemed like the hand of the people is totally tied.
Absolutely. That's why 63% no longer votes. Because they realize voting for one or the other won't make a difference. But back to our 10-point plan.
Yes. I don't think we're going to finish it.
We're going to finish it quickly. Another key element that I want your viewers to know about is that we intend to make food, water, and energy secure by shifting away from mining to what we call organic farming.
Yes.
So we're going to make Jamaica the organic food capital of the world. You're talking about water harvesting. You're talking about making Jamaica more energy independent by moving to alternative energy sources. Jamaica has sun 12 months a year. We have a huge amount of organic matter. We have geothermal capacities that are untapped. We have water, hydroelectric power possibilities. So I hear the government now talking about nuclear. So they want to take us into an area that is most dangerous. We can't manage bus company. We couldn't manage airline. You want us to manage a nuclear plant in Jamaica?
Oh yes, I've been in a lot of
So they're going off the rail, and I think they do these things just to get some new cycle going. But we're serious about building a Jamaica that is food, water, and energy secure. And if we do that, we can have independence. If you can't feed yourself, and let me tell you this: Jamaica has the capacity to produce and sell water to the world.
Land, wood, and water.
Yes.
Jamaica.
And guess what? We had water challenges the other day when we had a little drought. Why? Because our government has not invested in effective water harvesting technology, which is easy, simple technology in permaculture. The next item you want to talk about is, we have to recognize that Jamaica has developed a large poverty-stricken population.
Yes.
So our plan is to eliminate poverty with what we call a workfare program. What does that mean? Anybody who is unemployed and wants a job, we're going to provide one for them. We have forestry, we have farming, we have energy production, we have community policing, we have all kinds of opportunities that we're not tapping into. We as a government must ensure we create opportunities for people to work.
When I was thinking about, it just came to me, Rwanda for argument's sake, went through this massive period where they atrocities against each other, but somehow the leadership in Rwanda is creating this massive thrust of economic revival. And that is why sometimes people are saying, what's wrong with Rwanda when the UK want to send asylum seekers there? But I won't go into that. But Rwanda is a classic example, and people always talk about Singapore the same. We always go back to Singapore and then we tap into Rwanda. So what are we doing wrong?
Where we have gone wrong as a nation is that we have never focused on the things we should focus on. Let's look quickly at Singapore, how they became wealthy. I mean, they got independence in 1965. We got independence in 62. So 3 years later, when they got independence, SYLBOURNE, they had religious wars, linguistic wars. It was a more migratory population. And Singapore doesn't even have 1% of the resources we have. Now, what did Lee Kuan Yew do to make Singapore successful? Number one, he focused on eliminating political corruption, number one. And the way he did that was to have a top-down approach by eliminating anybody from the top who engage in corruption.
Yes.
Number two, he insisted on a safe environment. If you don't have safety, business can't thrive.
Yes.
Number three, he made Singapore, what I'm talking about, clean and beautiful to lift the spirits of the people and give them a sense of pride.
Yes.
And number four, he ensured public order. The same things the UIC is going to do for Jamaica.
Right. Well, okay. Well, number 8, to get rid of the Queen and the Governor General. We're going to touch on that because that's we're going to talk about that shortly after.
Yes.
You just touched a while ago about 9, investigate, prosecute, and convict all politicians. Touch on that.
Sure. So the UIC is committed to having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We believe it's important for us to understand why Jamaica became so violent. Why did crime become such a major issue? And we believe the way to do that is to allow Jamaicans the opportunity to come forward and share what they know. Now, anyone who is implicated but failed to come forward to the commission and let us know will receive the full extent of the law. We're going to prosecute, especially politicians. We have to look at their assets. We have to look at how they have been able to achieve wealth. We're going to forensically investigate them, even if they're former politicians. Even if they have passed away, we want to get the history clear, and we're going to make sure that they pay for it. If their estate is benefiting from ill-gotten gains, we're going to confiscate that. So we're going all the way out to make sure we return to the Jamaican people what was stolen from them.
So that is going to be something facilitated like with the Integrity Commission?
It's going to be a commission, yes, similar to the one that they had in South Africa.
Yes.
And it's going to be very transparent, very open, and it comes with an amnesty program.
Yes.
So persons who volunteer information, they're people who want to talk, you know. But if they talk, they're implicating themselves. So I want to give them that freedom, and we collect all of that information so that posterity can have it documented. Our history book, SYLBOURNE, must tell clearly why 800 people died in the 1980s election. It must help us understand why and how and through what means politicians gave guns to our boys and created the garrisons and the gangs and caused a dudus to rise and all these kind of things.
And why Rastas were...
And why Rastas were...
they want to kill off dead or alive.
Why Buster Mantis said bring them in dead or alive.
You're right about that, you know. There's so much depth and there's so many...
from our history books.
So many things, I believe, under the carpet, in a way. But number 10, you say eliminate property taxes and duty and replace them with a single 10% income. In 1 minute on that one before we give a break.
Sure. So we are going to do the unthinkable. We're going to eliminate property taxes. Why? Property tax is fraudulent. Because what you're saying is, I buy something and then I must pay a tax on it in perpetuity, which means I rent the property from you. So property tax is a rent that you're paying for the property that you have bought. So we believe that's unjust, and the only way you can become a true property owner is if you pay one time if you buy something. Now remember, many Jamaicans should have had property and they don't have it. So when we give them that property for free, they won't be paying taxes on it anytime in the future. So the asset, just imagine a senior citizen, SYLBOURNE. You're a senior citizen in Jamaica and you slave and buy back the land that was stolen from your ancestors. You slave it up and buy back the land that was stolen from your ancestors, and then now you must pay a property tax on it forever. And as you get older now and your income level is going down, your stress levels start to go up.
Unfair.
Because you have to find money now to pay for this. So we're going to make our seniors feel comfortable again without having to pay any property tax.
It's totally unfair. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about Jamaica moving to a republic and with the revamp of the Constitution with Mr. Joseph Patterson. Thank you. Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm with Mr. Joseph Patterson as we're talking about the UIC, but most importantly, now we're going to talk about the meat, which is about Jamaica on its quest to become a republic and the revamping of the Constitution. What's your say on this exciting venture? I mean, you're now in London, England, a right place to be, a stone throw from where actually the Constitution could have been drafted in the backside of some office in Westminster. What's your take on this new quest, Mr. Patterson?
Well,
moving forward, and it's a part of your plan as well.
Yes, the plan to become a republic is a key and essential part of the UIC's mission and mandate. I believe the government is actually trying to preempt the fact that we have been pushing this, and as the UIC gets traction, it's going to cause some stir. So they're trying to head it off.
Yes.
What I can assure you is that the government is trying to pass off a fake republic. And what do I mean by that? A fake republic is where you put lipstick on the pig.
Yes.
So they want to simply change the name of the Governor General to President, and maybe a few more superficial changes, and then tell us we're now a republic.
Yes.
But what the UIC is advocating for is a real republic with substantive changes, not changes, replacement of the existing constitution, not a reform, not a change, but a replacement. Why do we want a replacement? You cannot build on a poor foundation. The current constitution was written and designed to carry out the wishes and aspirations of the colonial masters.
I want to stop you right there, and I want to make this as much education as possible at this time, because as you know, they are appointed 14 persons to lead the charge, and one of the words which is coming out is education. If somebody is watching now and they're saying, what is he talking about? Republic. What is a republic?
Very good question.
What is a republic?
So if you go online, you'll see a number of definitions, but most people believe a republic is where you have a president instead of a monarch being your head of state.
Right.
That's what most people think. But a real republic is one that protects the individual sovereignty of every citizen.
Yes.
A real republic.
Yes.
So in a fake republic, what will happen is sovereignty will reside somewhere else other than the individual. And government then will have policies which allows them, if they wish, to violate your personal sovereignty.
Yes.
So for example, in a real republic, the government could not mandate an injection. It will be, you wouldn't even think about it, because a republic protects your sovereignty, freedom of choice.
Yes.
Okay? Freedom of movement, freedom of association, and so on. In a fake republic, it may list your Charter of Rights, but then have provisions in the constitutions whereby those in authority can take away those rights as they see fit. A true republic fully protects those rights, and that's why the UIC has always maintained your right to life, liberty and property must always be protected.
And now I'm going to illuminate it so someone can see. Let's use an example. Barbados. What type of republic is that?
Right. So Barbados is a fake republic. So what they did was to do the lipstick on the pig thing. They simply changed the name from Governor General to President and leave the system intact. So the colonial system and construct, which makes Jamaica a very corrupt country, and Barbados a corrupt country, remains intact.
So there's no fundamental change?
No fundamental change.
Just the top there?
Just the top.
Same MPs?
Same MPs,
same senators?
Same structure.
Same appointed?
Exactly.
Only thing is that you don't swear allegiance to the Queen
anymore, yes. And by the way, that's a good. It's a good thing that you're no longer swearing allegiance to a foreign power. It's a good thing that you no longer refer to the monarch in your constitution. But we need more than that.
Right. Now, which is a real republic? Which country? There's Nigeria. There is Trinidad. There is South Africa. Which one would you say is?
So the closest we have come internationally to a true republic is the USA. The closest we have come, and they have failed. So the USA they were going in the right direction, but they left too many loopholes in their constitution and allowed for too many amendments to water down the protection of the rights of their citizens. And so the UIC is going to give the world the first ever true republic. So
what you have done now, you have looked at the fake, you have looked at the one which was the best, which is sort of starting to fail in a way, and you're creating the true republic, the ultimate republic.
The ultimate. So we're going to do for politics what Bob Marley did for music, and what Usain Bolt and Shelley and Fraser did for athletics. We're going to be the champions, the author, the creator of the world's first real republic. We're going to show America what they could have been.
I want you to break it down more for me at the same time with what's the distinction at the same time, because in Jamaica you've got the Senate and you got the Prime Minister and all of these appointments. if you can sort of put some color on it.
Let me put some context to it.
Yes.
So in the current system, at the very top is the monarch of England.
Yes.
Then the people get to vote.
Yes.
The people vote based on a system that's partisan in the current system, which is funded by the private sector elites. And then when you elect that, whichever party has the majority of MPs, the leader of that party becomes the prime minister.
Yes.
He or she then gets to nominate 13 of the 21 senators.
Yes.
Not nominate, appoint.
Appoint.
Which means immediately they're beholden to him because he appointed them.
So they have to just play his ball.
So, right. They don't have to, but I'll tell you why they're more inclined to.
Yes.
All the senators he appoints would love for him to further appoint them to a ministerial position.
Right.
So if you play your cards right and behave yourself, the prime minister may give you a ministerial position. For example, Ruel Reid, which was the education minister, he was taken from a school as principal, made a senator by the prime minister so that he could then appoint him to minister of education.
Yes.
And then he realized he got into serious corruption scandal and had to resign and so on. So that's what happens. Then on the MP side now, all of the MPs from the prime minister's side are hoping and praying that he will appoint them to a ministerial position. So that makes the prime minister very, very powerful because he appoints the Senate, he appoints MPs, and he fixed the cabinet any which way he wants. He has absolute power on these matters.
But in the UK, we do have that because even the prime minister appointed him the BBC chair.
Yeah, and I'm going to come to that. I'm going to tell you what's the difference between Jamaica and Britain in a second. But I want you, the Jamaican people, to fully understand, first of all, how powerful the prime minister is. Now, watch what is going on here. The prime minister now sits as head of the executive branch of government.
Yes.
He also sits in the parliament as a legislator. He appoints legislators to be a part of the executive, to run the ministries. He appoints senators and is also able to appoint those senators. So you have a mix-up now of the executive branch and the legislative branch. So those who are supposed to be overseeing are also a part of. So they can't carry out their functions. Exactly. They can't carry out their functions effectively because they're commingled.
So nobody can come out and say, yo, stop what you're doing. Because people are not happy about this.
Because they're implicated too. Now the opposition, you'd say, but the opposition can do that. But the opposition, by virtue of you telling us, the Jamaican people, that we have government and opposition, means that you're telling us that the opposition will always oppose and therefore are not always credible. And when they get elected, they have the same kind of situation, so they're also culpable because of the same arrangement. When they get elected, the UIC fixes all of that. Here's how we fix it.
Yes.
Right, let's talk about solutions now.
Yes.
Number one, we will have an elected president. Right now, the current system don't elect the leader. Backdoor deals select the leader for the party who becomes the leader. We're going to have an elected president who will serve not only as head of government, the executive branch, but also head of state.
Yes.
So we're not separating the two. One money. You follow me?
Yeah.
We're not paying one time, not two times. The Senate now will be elected as well, independent of the president, one per parish. So 14 instead of 21 appointed by the prime minister and the opposition. Okay? Your MPs now, instead of being selected by parties, they will come from the grassroots in the communities.
Yes.
And the community will nominate and elect them. But here's the kicker. Here's the most important element to this solution. Very important. We will no longer have privately funded candidates or parties.
Okay.
In our system, it's a 100% publicly funded system, and here's how it works. We don't give you the money. To qualify as a candidate, you must first take an exam where you prove that you understand good governance. It includes civics, statistics, economics, so on. So you prove that you have the competences.
Yes.
You also must have experience in leadership, management, and stuff like that. Once you have that, and you go to your constituents and get a certain number of nominators who nominate you. And these nominators, when they nominate you, they lose their vote. So they have to be careful. So when they give it to you, it's gone.
Yes.
Once you get all of that in place, you get the same access to newspaper, radio, television, internet, town hall meetings, and debates like any other candidates. And then you're fact-checked.
So no undue influence.
Yes, and then you're fact-checked by a panel of fact checkers to make sure what you have said and what you're proposing, all of the things checked out. And that is communicated to the public. And then we have an election without any fanfare.
Yes.
So nobody gets to go buy curry goat and rum and give out armbands and caps. So all of that thing is gone, and no private sector company now or anybody can now influence the process by their monies. But whether you are a rich person or a poor person, you can run for office based on your credibility and based on your character and your platform.
So what you're talking about is the people having a fundamental impact there. And
absolutely.
And
the candidates now, look at the candidates, they're now free to talk the way they want.
Yes.
So because remember, every candidate now, now have to worry about the party. They say, boy, I have to toe the line, because if I'm going to toe the line, the Prime Minister and company might push me out. They don't have to worry that they took money from company X, and if they don't go and do a company X, they're going to push them out.
Yes.
They're fully now beholden to the people, because the only way they get elected is by their performance, not by who is funding them or which party they belong to, which is why we call our system a non-partisan constitutional republic, because you don't have to be partisan to participate. You can be partisan if you want, but you don't have to be. Parties would lose their influence now, because they cannot now just say we control the candidates. They'll have to win by virtue of having good policies and can influence people with what they're proposing, not by the power they get from the PSOJ oligarchs.
So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what we are getting from Mr. Patterson is a breakdown of what we have, what the ceremonial is, what the executive president is, and the ultimate true republic is, or the president is. And that is something we hope to achieve, definitely. What is your, before we wrap up, what's your education process then, along with the, what do you think about the panel which has been established?
It's a farce. No, that's a farce.
And even with the Constitution.
No, that's a farce. So what the government is doing right now, all of it is a farce. What they're doing is trying to give us the impression that they're doing something constructive and meaningful. All they're doing is pulling the wool over our eyes again. And remember, they tricked us in 1838, they tricked us in 1944, they tricked us in 1962. We cannot afford for them to trick us in 2023.
We're tricked by our own now.
By our own, yes. Yeah, it started off with the colonial masters. They tricked us in 1838. They used our own kind to trick us in 1944. And they used our own kind to trick us in 1962. And I bet you, right now, they're trying to trick the same colonial powers in them together. Because here's what's going to happen, SYLBOURNE. They're going to put forward a referendum to the people. Right? They're going to put forward one. They're going to come up with a fake thing, and they're going to put forward a referendum statement and say, vote yes or no. If the people vote no, which they should, if they vote no, they're going to say, see, we want to stay with the monarchy.
Which gives them still the same power.
Yes. If the people vote yes,
with the ceremonial.
Yeah, you get a fake republic.
So therefore,
which keep the same system in place.
So therefore, it's important for. So how do we? How would you break that up then?
Right. The only way we get out of this is by the people deciding that they're not going to support this process. They're going to support the UIC's agenda. So the people have to get behind, and that's what we're doing. We're building momentum now. By the time we have the next election, we're going to bring the entire nation with us to say we don't want what you're offering. We're not just going to vote yes or no. We don't want it. We want a real republic. And they have two options when we're going to take to the streets of them. When we go out there,
they're locked up again.
Yeah, man. Not just me. The whole country not going to have to lock up. We're going to say very simple. You have two choices, the two of you. You either adopt what the UIC is proposing, or we depose you and elect the UIC to do it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we could go on so much more with this, and I believe that there's so much more coming out of Jamaica regarding this, and I'll be interviewing respective leaders, and to, as much as possible, to use this platform as an educational tool. Before I wrap up and get Mr. Patterson back on the plane to Jamaica to sort it out, we don't want the king to keep him here as his subject. What would be your last word then because you're engaging with the Jamaicans in the UK, what's your last word to the Jamaicans in the diaspora?
My last word is the UIC is our last hope and opportunity to make the change that you want to see. The UIC is more than a political party. We're a movement committed to the transformation of Jamaica into a safe, clean and orderly, non-partisan constitutional republic where you can live, earn, and retire with dignity. The way for us to achieve that is for us to come together and unite. That's why we talk about one Jamaica and say we're stronger together. Let us come together. Let us pool our time, our talent, and our treasures together so we can create that new Jamaica. We cannot rely on those who have failed us for 80 years. We now must turn our backs on that and look forward to a new Jamaica with new leadership, a new system, so that we can have a new experience. So join me. Go to uicjamaica.com and sign up today, volunteer, and donate for the country that you want to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patterson.
My pleasure.
That's awesome.
My pleasure.
And if someone is to say to you now, what is your favorite mantra or your positive outlook on life or your quote that you'd say, what keeps you even when you're in prison and they lock you up, and I'm sure that must have been a testing time.
Yes.
What is the word or what kept you going?
Well, the key thing is I meditate a lot on the work of Marcus Garvey. And one of the things he said that stood with me to this very day, he says, any leadership that leads you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will lead you right back into slavery. And with that, I realized that we, the Jamaican people, must look clearly and carefully at those who wish to lead us and where they want to lead us. So far, our current leaders have led us to become dependent on others. We need to become truly independent now.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining and listening to Mr. Joseph Patterson, the president of UIC, United Independence Congress, while he's here in London, making sure that we revamp the Constitution right in the same room where it took place. And I want to thank you again because, and those in Jamaica or anywhere, whenever you come to the UK, tune in to the SYLBOURNE show. Let's have a sit. Let's have a conversation, because I believe this whole discussion regarding the Republic, the Constitution, is not going to finish off now. It's going to keep continuing until we achieve the ultimate and the right Republic. Thank you very much.